Hey, it's Lori Lewis, the director, with another episode of the Before the Big Day podcast, YouTube edition. Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to remind you, please subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on so you know when a new episode is available. Also, give me a thumbs up so I know you got some really good wedding planning nuggets from this episode. This podcast is for all of you who are wedding planning, who are trying to avoid going into debt for your big day. And you need the advice from those who have firsthand knowledge and experience, those wedding industry professionals from across the country, and those real life couples who have been through what you're experiencing and want to share their testimonies. So, without further ado, enjoy this episode. And I'll see you soon. Hello, everyone. It's Lori Lewis, the director, with another episode of the Before the Big Day podcast. Although in this episode, we're really talking about after the big day. And joining me, so excited to have them, whose weddings, plural on purpose, went viral on social media because during the pandemic, they not only had one wedding, they had two weddings. So welcome Serena and Marvin Yates to the guest.
We're so happy to be here.
So happy to have you. So it was just fun just watching both of your wedding celebrations and just the themes and just, I don't know. So tell me how the discussion even began, like was it always the plan to have two, or was it just, okay, we did it once, why not do it again?
No, that was definitely not the plan. We initially set out to have one wedding, which was September 6th of 2020.
Okay.
And that year, March hit and COVID struck and we had to make a shift. And not right away, because we thought, everyone else thought that it was only going to last, for a month or two, and then we would be back to normal. And when as the year continued on and we were still in the house and, things were, the cases were spiking, we realized that, okay, we need to, make some changes or, make some decisions. And so we we both were pretty much in denial about the fact that, we weren't having our wedding as we set out to have. We set out to have.
I was a little bit more in denial than you, but
he's absolutely right. That is a fact. Okay. Yes. I think by May we started having the conversation. I'm like, okay, babe, we need to, start making some decisions. And he's like, no, we'll be fine. Like, just trust the process. Just believe like God got us. And I was like, yeah, he does. But we also need to, be realistic and, the clock is ticking. Like we need to be sending out invitations. We need to get a count. Like we need to, start really planning and closing up things, because we had a lot of, we had shelled out a lot of money, and some of the final deposits were, coming close to being due. And so we wanted to know how to proceed before that occurred. And I think by June? Yeah, by June, then he came to a sensus and realized that we were going to have to make a shift. And we still wanted it to be special. And so I came up with, I always wanted to pretty much have an elopement.
Okay.
He's the traditional one.
Okay.
And so I think in the very beginning, he was like, you kind of threw out the idea. Or I threw out the idea, and he was like, no, we've been talking about having a wedding. Let's just have a wedding. And so then, we started planning this wedding. So obviously when we had to scale down because of COVID, we decided that we were going to elope. And we settled on Utah because we were kind of, more so I was chasing this landscape.
Okay.
And Utah has the third largest number of national parks in the country. And so we ended up, I think we chose between 6? I think it was 6 different national parks. And we came up with going to Moab and going to, it was actually a state park, Dead Horse State Park. And everything was pretty much seamless. He was more so concerned with the budget. He was like, if we're doing this, we've already paid out so much money. Like, let's do something small, intimate, that's not going to be costly. And so that's pretty much what we did. I mean, obviously it was a journey trying to get like our loved ones there, trying to pick, who we wanted there. But we ended up with 11 people.
Yeah. But I think you're missing a key point. The key point is the reason we had 2 weddings because we couldn't get money back. So that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
We wanted to have our wedding. We wanted to have our date. And we had a venue that we had already paid a ton of money to.
Okay.
And when we came back, when she came to me and said in May or June, we need to make a decision. And we called the venue and they said, oh, well, we can't give you your money back. That was the problem. When they when you pay a ton of money and they try to give you pennies back and say that you can't get out of the contract, then it was, well, our day initially, September 6th, meant something to us. So we have to find a way to keep something on September 6th. Mm-hmm. And then the only other option that we had with the venue was to postpone. So can't get any money back. So we still have to get married September 6th because it was important to us. And let's push this other date back because they're not willing to work with us. And we want to make sure that we at least preserve, the opportunity to do something or get some money back down the line.
Got it. Yeah. So what was the influence with Utah, the green dress and the green? I mean, that was that's all Serena.
That was all Serena because I didn't even know. Well, first off, when she came to me and said, I want to get married in Utah, I was like, neither one of us had even been to Utah. And I was like, what? Wait, how are we talking about Utah? Okay. When I thought we were going to have to do another wedding, I thought we were going to go to the courthouse or something.
He did. He definitely did.
So the green was all her idea. She's a very visual person. So as we started to talk to our friends and, invite people, like she had a color scheme in mind. She told me what to wear, which was a green suit. I had no idea she was wearing green.
Yeah, he didn't.
I didn't know she was wearing green.
And that actually was not my original plan. I was planning on wearing a white dress because I asked him, what do you think if I do something different, a different color? And he was like, no, you should. He's very traditional. Okay. So he's like, you should just do a white dress. And I was like, all right. So I really looked long and hard for a white dress. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for something in particular, and I found a couple things, but it was so expensive, and I just didn't really want us to, I wanted to kind of take the stress out of this moment, and I really wanted it, to be simplistic and just easy breezy as possible. And so I was just like, I don't want to do too much. So I found this dress. I had been eyeballing it, but I just really wasn't confident to do it as a wedding dress.
Okay.
And I talked to a couple friends and they're like, Serena, that's your personality. That's your favorite color. Like, you should do it. Like, if you could do it, if anybody can do it, you can do it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to order the dress. It went on sale and I got it. And I mean, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but I went and got it altered. And that lady, when I say she did her thing, she completely transformed that dress. Okay. Wow. So it looked like a totally different dress than what I purchased. So, I mean, the whole thing, I mean, that dress,
it worked out.
A straight up bargain. Okay.
And it worked out. Cause like I said, I had no idea. I thought, okay, I'm wearing green. She's going to come down in white. So when I'm standing on the mountain and I look and she's coming down, I'm like, wow, she got a green dress on. So,
wow. So, I mean, that was their first time. As soon as she walked down, she was in green.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And nobody told me, like, of course I wouldn't see her.
I thought that he overheard me talking to my friends a couple of times, and I thought that he had heard me say, talk about the green dress, but he didn't.
You talk to them all the time. I
can't.
So
he blocks it out. He's like, I'm just ignoring the whole conversation.
I love it.
It worked out. And I mean, with the color, he's right. I am a visual person. So, I was putting pictures together, pictures of the park, and then the place where we're getting married, and then I was putting together the colors, what he was wearing, what I was wearing, so I knew that it would look good with the backdrop. I was like, oh, this is gonna be perfect.
Right. Oh, it was beautiful. So then the second wedding was just the original plan.
Basically. Well, somewhat. In the
Look at
beginning,
Marvin.
we were like, we can postpone and have our big wedding.
Okay.
And still
numbers were still high. Like,
right.
So we were supposed to have what? So we were supposed to have 150 people.
Yeah.
But with the numbers still high and the venue not being necessarily sure what would happen in Virginia, we were like, well, we need to go down on numbers, so we went down from 150 to 75. And of course, a couple people who we didn't expect to show up contacted us at the last minute. So we got up to like 80 or 85. But
no, actually we ended up at a little under 75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
people drop at the
nervous.
last.
Right. I know.
No, they're not nervous. People just being who they are and RSVPing and not showing up. And if y'all watching, I remember who y'all are. So
you know what?
Shots fired.
Okay.
But everything came together. We had to make changes because of the vendors and different stuff as far as the numbers. But I think we saw our vision for that second wedding come to fruition.
For the most part, I would say the vendors outside of the venue were amazing. They really were accommodating to us. The venue, we definitely thought we were going to have to sue them.
Oh, wow.
So it got really intense because as the government mandates were in place, they were trying to go around it and, basically like, oh, well, yeah, the government said that you can only have 50, but, we're private, so you can have 150. And we're like, no, if the government mandate in place says that we can only have 50, that's what we're going to have. Right. So there was a lot of back and forth with them
because they were trying to keep as much money as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did not want. They basically disregarded our contract that we had in place and basically did whatever they wanted to do. So that was why we were like, okay, so this is a lawsuit. So it definitely was not glamorous the whole time. And I mean, even with Utah, we were facing, his parents were okay with traveling. They're like, we're not going to miss it. Like, obviously, we don't want to. Right. But if this is what you guys want to do, we're going to be there. Right. My parents gave pushback. And so they basically were like, we're not coming. We don't feel comfortable flying. And so and my dad did not come. So you have to think, that was the last thing that I expected was for my dad not to be there on my wedding day. And my mom, she didn't change her mind till like 3 weeks before. Okay. So you got to think I'm going into this like, oh my God, I'm getting married and like my parents are not going to be there. And so that was another reason because initially it was just supposed to be our parents in Utah.
Wow.
Okay. Marrying us, like because we was like, okay, who's gonna marry us?
Right.
We don't know nobody in Utah, and so his dad got licensed to be an officiant to marry us.
Wow. Look at that.
But those same issues persisted. I think we had a few folks, when the second wedding came around, and we're just like, we just had kids, and even though things are a little bit better, so I think once you talk about COVID and the pandemic, like. Even though the wedding day is for you, you have to understand that you have to be accommodating to your guests. And, those are things that we had to do for both events.
Yeah, we did. So,
the pictures are absolutely phenomenal. Who knows, as a wedding coordinator, we know what goes on behind the scenes, and you guys are sharing some of yours. So just,
both days were nearly perfect.
Okay.
It was the lead up.
It was the lead up. Yes. Because even so we initially were getting married in Traverse City. That was our initial plan, right?
Really? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we were going to go there. We went there and looked at venues. We found a place that we really liked.
Wow.
And then logistic wise, it was like, this is going to be too much. Like trying to get 150 people here, trying to find, because they don't really have a lot of hotels, and I was just like, logistic, and it was already weddings booked.
And we're not there. So
we're not there.
We needed a place that we could get, have easy access to be able to, facilitate. But, even then with the pandemic,
Yeah, but our coordinator actually came out of Traverse City because that's where we thought we were getting married.
Right.
And so with that, we're like, okay, that's the first person we need to hire as a coordinator because we're not there.
Right.
So we just kept her on like throughout the whole journey.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Well, actually, no. We kept her up until Utah. She wasn't available for our second date, though.
Right. Okay.
But that the coordinator was an important piece for both events.
Yeah.
Because for Utah, us never going to Utah.
Right.
Like we had somebody that was a little more familiar with the area,
West, because she was from Colorado originally.
And the West Coast. But then also being able to be that buffer between us and, caterers and different vendors and stuff out there. But then also when we hired our second coordinator, she had some connections with the venue here in Virginia. Mm-hmm. So while they were giving us a hard time about certain things and, we had challenges, she was able to circumvent some of those issues. So, for, other couples that are looking even now, like having that coordinator, that planner, that dedicated person
that is the key.
Goes a long way for sure.
Yeah, look, preach. And I appreciate you saying that. So, because some folks still don't like, oh, what do I need a coordinator for? So I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, people think that they can do it alone and you end up, it really
and you can up to a certain point, but come the day of those.
But it also wears and tears on the relationship, because for us, we realized even with a coordinator, so much of our daily conversation was centered around the two weddings. Yeah, so we both work all day and we come home and the only thing we're talking about is wedding stuff. Like you need that buffer to kind of, be able to pick up some of that slack. So your relationship isn't solely focused and those conversations aren't solely focused on wedding and that type of, responsibility, but you can still be a couple and be normal in that process.
I love that. So let's talk now that both weddings are over. What are the conversations about now? What's life like? You're married now. The weddings are over. Thank you, cards are gone. And now what?
I talk about sports. You don't care nothing
exactly. I do have taken a liking to sports. Because I don't have a choice.
No, the conversation. We just purchased the house. We own. So not only this year did we have two weddings, but we also purchased the house. So we had two weddings and purchased the house.
And that was 2 weeks before. Yeah, that was like less than a month in between the second wedding and buying a house.
Yeah, so we closed on the house 2 weeks before the second wedding. So a lot of the conversation
nonstop.
A lot of the conversation with her is, even though it's a brand new house, about projects that she wants to do around the house.
Yeah.
But we're both, really career focused and oriented. So a lot of our conversations are about, her business, about, the, things that I have coming up in my career. But we also just like to have fun. So I think, we miss that, because we're so much on the weddings, having and making sure that we still have time for date nights, making sure that, we watch our shows, on Sunday night and on Tuesday or whatever other days we have shows on. And
we do have designated. Now we have designated time. We have today is our Taco Tuesday. So we make sure that, we implement certain things that we can look forward to as a couple. That's really important because time does get away from you. And it's you're working, you get off work, you're tired. You really have to be intentional about, the plans, the time that you spend with each other. Because a lot of times, before, we would both be under the same roof. And I think that, a lot of times people think that's time spent, and it's not. Just because you're in the same, location doesn't mean that you're spending time with each other.
And that was a process. I think, we both had to learn that. I think, the wedding and the work that goes into planning a wedding is one thing, but the work that starts after you're actually married is a whole nother level. So, I think we've realized that in this first year, and making sure, as she said, that we're intentional in our actions to give our time and invest our time to marriage. So good days, but it's also, work in progress. We constantly find ways
every day
to get better and improve and,
every day it's work, make the decision every day when you wake up, it's marriage is another full-time job. And that, communication piece is so important, because, you may be thinking one thing and your partner is thinking another. And so it's so important just to be, try to be on the same, playing field as much as possible.
Right.
But, it gets, it's hard. It's hard.
It's
gotta
cool.
work.
It's fun.
It is, but it is hard,
Yeah.
but it's like, so I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. It's hard,
Right.
but it is definitely rewarding. Like,
Sure.
I love being married. Like, I tell anybody that. And I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I think like being married, I feel like to the right person.
Right.
Like, I know that I'm married to the right person. So that,
I know
so
you're married. I know you're married to the right person.
You know what? Whatever. Okay. Crazy.
I love it. So for any couple out there, like currently planning their wedding, like I'm working with, 6-7 couples already planning for next year. So looking back now, what would be some things that not necessarily you do different, but maybe something that you would have, I guess done different, because hindsight is 20/20, right?
Can I go first?
You know what? Here. Sure, babe. You can go first.
So, and this is just how I always felt. Elope.
Okay.
Like, and this is how you always felt.
Yeah, but we talked about. So my challenge is, and one of the reasons we didn't elope were because of family and
Yes, they deterred us. They tried.
Some of the best weddings I've ever been to were destination weddings.
Okay.
And for a few reasons. One, you can limit how many people come.
Right.
If you have a wedding outside of the country,
you hope.
You got those cousins that got felonies and they can't get a passport and travel. You got people who just don't want to do it.
That's right.
In my mind, it's like you really limit, what those issues are with the elopements, and if you go take a destination wedding.
And I guess people who really want to be there will be there.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. But also, I mean, you got to still, make sure when you talk about COVID, you're aware of the international travel rules and restrictions, because that's a whole nother ball game. But so in addition to that, I would say, so much of, wedding planning is about thinking about other people. Do what you want to do.
Yes.
You should put you and your fiance, you and your soon-to-be wife or husband, you all should be first. Mm-hmm. You can always listen to your parents, you can always listen to your friends, your wedding party, but that outside noise presents challenges.
It does.
Because at the end of the day, just because they're there with you that day, they don't have to go with you, in that battle of what marriage is going forward. Mm-hmm. So I would say put you and your partner first. Mm-hmm. So whatever you decide to do, make sure you are the focus, you are the goal. We did that with cakes. She was like, should we get, or somebody said we should get, yellow and chocolate cake. I don't want plain yellow and chocolate cake.
He's like, that's not what we are.
And I don't care what other people want to eat.
Right.
That's what I want to eat. So, so having that mindset during the entire process, I think will really be good for future couples and future newlyweds. And
there's certain things that you can implement as far as like your guest experience. Like we had for the second wedding. I mean, it was for him though. I surprised him with like a wing station because he loves wings.
Yes.
Like whiskey and wings because he loves whiskey too. So it still was about him.
Right.
But our guest also was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like we really enjoyed it. Yeah. So it's like things that
pointers to future couples.
What?
Why you talking about my stuff right now?
Oh.
I'm like, so you concur with what he's saying. You're agreeing with what he said.
I am agreeing with what he's saying.
He was talking
as far as, whatever. As far I can't stand. Yes, I am agreeing with him as far as like implementing things that, represent who you are as a couple. Things that are important to you, that's important. And what else would I say to piggyback on what you said?
Get your coins right too.
Yeah.
Weddings are not cheap. Mm-hmm. And I think we all remember
whatever your budget is, you're gonna
go over it. So
you're gonna go over
it. Okay.
I mean, I think we think back to like, back in the day where it's like the father of the bride or all that type of stuff.
They pay that is not a thing.
You need to make sure that you're together and you're in a good position. And because it's important, you know.
Right.
So,
and I will say having that extra time is really helpful too. You know, some people I know, they want to get married, you know, as soon as possible. We had, was it 18 months?
Yeah, about 18 months.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay.
So
an engagement for 8 years.
The money that like our parents gave us, we were actually able to build on it to the point where we were able to like have our down payment for our house and still, you know, have these weddings.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I mean, that time really did help us out. So, you know, I would say just like take your time, you know, and really just be, you know, just know that like, yeah, your budget is, you have to be realistic about it. And, you know, you can't have, I mean, you know, if people focus a lot on the details and obviously what you're seeing on social media, right? You're seeing these elaborate weddings that probably are $100,000 or more. And you're thinking that this $25,000-$30,000 budget is sufficient for that. And it's not. But, you know, people, they don't know that, you know, going into it. They don't know all the details and the moving pieces that are, you know, going on behind the scenes. So
Right.
I would say just be, you know, just be realistic with your expectations and your budget.
Yeah. I'd also say enjoy the process. She mentioned, you know, the 18-month engagement. Like, we enjoyed being engaged. Like we enjoy saying like, hey, we don't have a wedding for 18 months. Let's take this trip. Let's go out and do these things. You know, and then when it went into full wedding planning mode, it was like, okay, even with the hiccups, we enjoyed that process. Like
we did
getting to know what each other like and like learning different things that are important to each other in that type of process, you know. And even then, once you get married, enjoy that. I think everybody's like in a rush to like, okay, when are we going to have a family or when are we going to buy a house? Like, take time to enjoy each part of the entire process. Like
I love that. I love that. Enjoy the process.
Wow.
So last question. So what do you consider your real wedding date? Is it the elopement or the second wedding?
The elopement. Yeah. September 6th is that's the date that we celebrate.
Okay.
So that's
the date I celebrate. She gonna celebrate all the dates.
I tried to look.
She still celebrate the engagement date. I was like, we already been.
Yes, I love it. What are we doing for our anniversary? He's like, we're no longer celebrating that anniversary no more. I'm like, why not?
I'm not buying no gift and taking no trip
my goodness.
For all them dates.
Well, we actually are. Look, I got it my way. We're taking a trip for our anniversary.
Are you?
No, the engagement anniversary.
Okay.
When is the engagement anniversary?
You didn't trick me.
January 20th. So
I didn't realize you tricked me into booking that trip. I didn't even know. I didn't even put that together. We celebrate the elopement, but there are
that's our wedding date.
Okay, that's the wedding. That's the anniversary date.
September 6th.
September 6th is the wedding anniversary date. But like she will finesse a gift and a trip out of both wedding dates, engagement date, Columbus Day.
I mean, we're celebrating all these moments.
Groundhog Day.
Look,
hey, I love it. Celebrate love. And I just want you to know, Marvin, that my son, who's he and his fiance are actually eloping. They have a planned elopement in February. But me working in the industry, I have to be able to dress up, get some pictures, right? Because they're eloping on their own. So they're allowing me to give them like a little wedding celebration in May of next year. But
wow.
I was going to say, you know where they're eloping to?
Yeah, they live in Houston. So they're
he said just pop up.
I didn't want to do that. I'm gonna let them have their moment with my granddog.
Man, you're not gonna just pop up on them.
No.
In the bushes, get your pictures in, and
no, I like the photographer. I like everything that's set out. So I'm just gonna wait for the pictures and wait for my time.
But that's great because I mean, I know a lot of people, you know, whose parents, family, friends would respect those wishes, you know. So I think, you know, that's helpful to them. That's helpful to them, you know, to have that stress, you know, that stress relieved, you know, and understand that, hey, you know, she's going to support us in the way that we supported. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, and let's be clear, my mom, even though she didn't want to come initially, she definitely had the time of her life. She was like, you know, Serena, I really didn't see the vision, but you know, this is beautiful, you know, whatever. So everything, and that's another thing, like we stress so much, like brides, like the groom, maybe not as much, but the bride, you stress out so much throughout the process.
Yeah.
And, I always tell brides now, like, really everything is going to work out. I know it's stressful right now, but everything always works out. And like, you're going to look at the day and it's so surreal just to see everything come together. It will work out no matter, what adversity you're facing leading up. It always works out. And
always works out.
Yeah. Just to be present in those moments, because you don't get that time back.
Right.
So, this is, planning a wedding, and even, being in a position to have a wedding is a blessing.
It is.
And so just, especially the way that weddings are had these days, whatever your process is, just really, like Margaret said, just really enjoy it. Enjoy the process.
Pandemic or not, the ability to be married and find that lifelong partner is a blessing, and you should embrace it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you guys so much, and congratulations to you, Serena. Your weddings are over. You're 100% in the industry, so congrats on your big news.
Thank you.
That's exciting. So
excited.
Yeah, congratulations. Thank you both for sharing. This has been awesome to go along with the whole After the Big Day series, and I just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories. And I'll be watching you guys on social media. I'll be looking for that trip in January.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys so much. So
thank you so much for having us on.
Absolutely. Great. Yep. Keep in touch. Thank you.
All right. Will do.
All righty. Thank you all for watching and listening to another episode of the series After the Big Day, formerly Before the Big Day. And as always, reach out, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And until next time, be well.